Welcome back, my friends. Today, we are going to listen to the fascinating story of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, or AI, feels very modern today. AI can write text, answer questions, translate languages, create images, recognize voices, and help people learn. It can work inside phones, cars, schools, hospitals, offices, and creative tools. For many people, AI feels like something that suddenly appeared in the world. But the story of AI did not begin with ChatGPT. It began long before that. It began with a dream. For thousands of years, human beings have imagined objects that could move, speak, or think like living creatures. In old stories, people dreamed about statues that came to life. They imagined mechanical servants, magical machines, and artificial beings that could help humans. These stories were not real science, yet, but they showed something important. People were already asking one deep question. Could humans create something that acts like it has a mind? At first, this question belonged to myths, legends, and imagination. But as science developed, the question became more serious. Machines became stronger. Clocks became more precise. Factories used mechanical systems. Later, electricity changed the world. Then computers appeared. Slowly, the old dream began to move from fantasy into science. In the early days, computers did not look intelligent at all. They were large, heavy, and expensive. Some filled entire rooms. They made sounds like clicking switches and humming machines. The air around them could feel warm because the equipment produced heat. People did not carry them in pockets. They did not speak with them. They did not ask them questions for fun. These machines were mainly used for calculation. They could process numbers faster than humans. They could follow instructions. They could solve certain problems. But they did not understand the world like people do. They did not know fear, love, curiosity, or meaning. They did not look at the sky and wonder about the stars. They did not listen to music and feel emotion. They simply followed steps. Still, some thinkers began to wonder if a machine could follow steps. Could it also follow steps for reasoning? If a machine could calculate numbers, could it one day play a game, understand language, or solve a problem? This was a powerful idea. It was also a dangerous idea for some people, because it touched something deeply human. Thinking felt special. Language felt special. Creativity felt special. Many people believed these things belonged only to human beings. A machine could be useful, but could it ever be intelligent? One of the most important early thinkers in this story was Alan Turing. He was a British mathematician, and his ideas helped shape the future of computing. Turing did not see computers only as machines for numbers. He imagined them as machines that could process symbols and instructions. In simple words, he helped people think about computers as general problem-solving machines. Then, he asked a question that became famous. Can machines think? This question sounds simple, but it is not simple at all. To answer it, we first need to ask another question. What does it mean to think? Does thinking mean solving a math problem? Does it mean having a conversation? Does it mean learning from mistakes? Does it mean understanding meaning? Does it mean being conscious? Even today, people still debate these questions. Turing suggested a practical way to think about the problem. Instead of asking whether a machine truly thinks inside, we can ask whether it can behave intelligently in conversation. If a person talks to a machine and cannot easily tell whether it is a machine or a human, then maybe the machine is showing a form of intelligence. This idea later became connected with what many people call the Turing test. At the time, this was a bold way to think. Computers were still limited. They were not friendly tools. They did not have beautiful screens. They did not have natural voices. But the idea was already there. Maybe intelligence could be studied. Maybe parts of thinking could be described. Maybe one day, machines could do things that once seemed possible only for humans. This is why the early story of AI is so interesting. It did not begin with perfect machines. It began with questions. It began with imagination. It began with scientists and thinkers who looked at simple computers and saw more than metal, wires, and calculation. They saw possibility, but possibility is not the same as reality. A dream can be exciting, but it must face the real world. Early computers were slow compared with modern machines. They had very little memory. They were difficult to program. They needed experts to operate them. Even simple tasks could take a lot of time and effort. So the dream of artificial intelligence had a problem. The idea was powerful, but the tools were weak. This is a common pattern in history. Human imagination often moves faster than technology. People imagine flying before airplanes are ready. They imagine space travel before rockets are strong enough. They imagine intelligent machines before computers are powerful enough. But dreams matter because they give direction. Without the dream, no one begins the journey. Artificial intelligence began in this space, between imagination and limitation. On one side, there was a huge question: can a machine think? On the other side, there were early computers that could barely do what modern devices now do in seconds. And yet, some people believed the journey was possible. They believed that intelligence might not be magic. They believed that learning, reasoning, language, and problem-solving could be studied carefully. They believed that if humans could understand parts of the mind, maybe they could build machines that copied some of those abilities. This belief would soon lead to one of the most important moments in the history of technology. A small group of scientists would meet at Dartmouth College in the 1950s. They would give this dream a name: artificial intelligence. And from that moment, the dream would become a field of research. The story was just beginning. The dream of artificial intelligence became more serious in the 1950s. By that time, computers were still young. They were not small, friendly machines like the devices people use today. They were huge, expensive, and difficult to operate. A computer could fill a room. It needed trained people to prepare instructions. It did not have a smooth voice. It did not have a simple screen. It did not feel personal. But to some scientists, these early machines were more than calculators. They were the beginning of something new. After Alan Turing asked whether machines could think, more researchers began to imagine a future where computers could do more than process numbers. They wondered if a machine could play chess. They wondered if a machine could solve logic problems. They wondered if a machine could understand language. They wondered if intelligence could be broken into smaller steps and then written as instructions. This idea was exciting because it changed the way people looked at the human mind. If a person solves a problem, what happens first? Do they look for patterns? Do they remember past examples? Do they test possible answers? Do they choose the best path? If these actions could be described clearly, maybe a machine could copy some of them. This was the hope. Then came a famous meeting at Dartmouth College in the United States. In the summer of 1956, a small group of scientists gathered to discuss a new field of research. One of the key people was John McCarthy. He helped give the field its name, Artificial intelligence. The words were simple, but the meaning was huge. Artificial meant created by humans. Intelligence meant the ability to learn, reason, solve problems, and use knowledge. Together, artificial intelligence meant a machine-made form of intelligence. At that moment, AI was not yet powerful. It was not something ordinary people used every day. It was not writing stories, answering questions, or creating images. It was mostly an ambitious research idea. But giving it a name was important. When a dream has a name, people can gather around it. They can study it. They can argue about it. They can build laboratories, write papers, and ask for funding. The Dartmouth meeting did not create intelligent machines overnight, but it started a movement. The early AI researchers were full of confidence. Some believed that many parts of human intelligence could be solved within a short time. They thought that if computers became stronger, and if programs became better, machines would soon reason like humans. Looking back now, we can see that they were too optimistic. But their optimism was also powerful. It pushed the field forward. In those early years, AI researchers built programs that could solve certain logic problems. One famous program was called the Logic Theorist. It was designed to prove mathematical statements. To many people, this was surprising. A machine was not only calculating numbers, it was following a form of reasoning. Another important direction was game playing. Games like chess became a testing ground for AI. Chess was useful because it had clear rules. The board was limited. The pieces moved in specific ways. A computer could examine possible moves and choose a strong one. But chess was also difficult because there were so many possible choices. To play well, a machine needed search, memory, and strategy. The sound of early computer rooms was not romantic. There were no shining robots walking around. There were machines, humming softly, paper moving, switches clicking, and people waiting for results. A program could take a long time to run. Sometimes it failed. Sometimes it produced strange answers. But each experiment taught researchers something new. This is how early AI grew, not through magic, through trial, error, and patient work. At the same time, researchers began exploring how machines might learn. One important idea was the artificial neural network. This idea was inspired, in a simple way, by the brain. The human brain has many connected cells called neurons. Could a machine use connected units to learn patterns from examples? One early model was called the perceptron. It could learn simple patterns. It gave people hope that machines might one day recognize images, understand signals, and improve from experience. The idea was not yet strong enough for modern AI, but it planted a seed. Many decades later, neural networks would become one of the most important foundations of modern artificial intelligence. But in the early period, everything was still limited. Computers did not have enough power. There was not enough data. Programs were difficult to build. Researchers often had to simplify the world so a machine could handle it. A program might work well in a small example, but fail when the real world became messy, and the real world is very messy. Human intelligence is not only logic. It includes common sense. It includes emotion. It includes culture, memory, body language, and context. A child can look at a room and understand many things without being told. A person can hear a sentence and understand meaning from tone. A human can guess what someone wants, even when the words are not clear. For early AI, this was extremely hard. Still, The birth of AI was a major turning point in history. For the first time, scientists were not only building machines to make work faster, they were trying to build machines that could show signs of intelligence. This changed the relationship between humans and technology. A machine was no longer only a tool for the body, like a hammer, a wheel, or an engine. It could become a tool for the mind. It could help with thinking, planning, searching, and learning. Of course, early AI was still far from the tools we know today. It could not hold natural conversations like modern chatbots. It could not create realistic images. It could not instantly translate many languages. But the foundation was there. A question had become a field, a dream had become a research program, and a small group of scientists had opened a door that the world would never fully close again. The next part of the story, however, would not be simple. AI would rise with excitement. Then it would face disappointment. People would expect too much, too soon. Funding would slow down. Critics would say the dream was impossible. The field of artificial intelligence was about to enter one of its hardest chapters. In the early years, artificial intelligence felt full of promise. Scientists had given the field a name. Computers were improving. Researchers had built programs that could solve logic problems, play simple games, and show early signs of learning. To many people, it seemed that intelligent machines might arrive very soon. There was excitement in the air. Some researchers believed that human-level intelligence could be reached within a few decades. They imagined machines that could understand language, make plans, solve difficult problems, and help humans in many areas of life. Governments, universities, and companies became interested. Money began to flow into research. AI looked like a door to the future, but then reality arrived. The dream was much bigger than the technology. Early AI programs worked best in small, controlled situations. If the world was simple, the machine could perform well. If the rules were clear, the program could follow them. A chessboard had fixed squares. A math problem had clear symbols. A logic puzzle had a limited structure. But real life was not like that. Real life was full of uncertainty. Words had many meanings. A sentence could change meaning depending on tone, culture, or situation. A person could say one thing, but mean another. A child could look at a chair and know it was for sitting, but also know it could be moved, broken, painted, or used to reach something high. This kind of common sense was easy for humans, but extremely hard for machines. AI systems did not truly understand the world. They followed rules written by humans, and as the problems became larger, the rules became too many. Researchers tried to write more instructions. Then they needed more instructions to handle exceptions. Then they needed even more instructions for special cases. It became like trying to describe the entire world with a giant rule book, and the rule book was never complete. Another problem was computer power. Today, people use small devices that are far more powerful than early computers. But in the early days of AI, machines were slow, and memory was limited. A program that sounded simple could become too difficult to run. Searching through many possible answers took time. Storing information was expensive. Training systems on large amounts of data was not yet realistic. So AI began to disappoint people. The promises had been too large. The progress was real, but it was slower than expected. Some people started to ask hard questions. Where were the intelligent machines? Why could AI solve a small puzzle, but fail at simple common sense? Why could it play a game in a laboratory, but not understand the messy world outside? The room that once felt full of excitement began to feel colder. This period became known as an AI winter. An AI winter is a time when interest, funding, and confidence in artificial intelligence fall sharply. It does not mean that all research stops. Some people keep working quietly, but the public excitement fades. Investors become careful. Governments reduce support. Critics become louder. The dream begins to look unrealistic. There was more than one AI winter in the 1970s and again in later decades. AI faced serious disappointment. Some projects failed to deliver what they promised. Some systems were too expensive. Some systems worked only in narrow situations. People had expected general intelligence, but received tools that could do only small tasks. This was painful for the field. Imagine being a researcher who truly believes in a dream, but the world tells you the dream has failed. The laboratory becomes quieter. Funding meetings become harder. Newspapers stop using excited language. Students wonder if they should choose another field. The future no longer feels bright. It feels uncertain, but this difficult period was also important. Failure forced AI researchers to become more careful. They had to understand the difference between a working demonstration and a useful real-world system. They had to stop promising too much. They had to ask better questions. Instead of saying, "We will build a machine that thinks like a human very soon," they began to focus on smaller, more specific goals. This shift mattered. AI did not die during the winters. It changed. Some researchers worked on expert systems. These were programs designed to use knowledge from human experts in specific fields. For example, a system might help with medical diagnosis, engineering decisions, or business problems. Expert systems were not truly human-like intelligence, but they showed that AI could be useful when the task was narrow and the knowledge was organized. For a time, expert systems became popular. Companies hoped they could capture expert knowledge and place it inside computers. But again, limitations appeared. These systems were difficult to update. They depended on carefully written rules. If the real world changed, or if a case did not fit the rules, the system could fail. The same problem returned. The world was too complex. Still, even when AI seemed disappointing, progress continued quietly. Researchers improved algorithms. Computers became faster. Storage became cheaper. More data became available. Some scientists kept working on neural networks. Even when many people doubted them, others developed better methods for statistics, pattern recognition, and machine learning. These quiet years were like winter soil. On the surface, things looked still, but underneath, roots were growing. This is one of the most important lessons in the history of AI. Progress does not always look dramatic. Sometimes, the world notices only the big breakthrough, but before that breakthrough, there may be years of slow work, repeated failure, and patient improvement. Artificial intelligence had not reached its dream yet. It had not created machines that could truly think like humans. It had not changed everyday life for most people. But the field had learned something valuable. Intelligence was harder than expected. Language was harder than expected. Common sense was harder than expected. And the human mind was far more complex than a simple set of rules. The AI winters made the field humbler. They cooled the excitement, but they did not destroy the dream. The dream survived because the question was still too powerful to ignore. Can machines learn? Can machines recognize patterns? Can machines improve with experience? The answer was not clear yet. But in the coming decades, new technology would change everything. More data, stronger computers, and better learning methods would bring AI back from the cold. The next rise of artificial intelligence would be different. This time, Machines would not only follow rules, they would begin to learn from data. After the long AI winters, artificial intelligence began to rise again. But this time, the field changed its direction. In the early years, many AI systems were built with rules. Humans wrote instructions. Humans explained what the machine should do. Humans tried to put knowledge into the computer by hand. This worked for small problems. But it failed when the world became too large and too messy. The new idea was different. Instead of telling the machine every rule, researchers began to focus more on learning from data. This idea is called machine learning. Machine learning means that a computer system studies examples and looks for patterns. It does not need a human to write every single rule. It learns from experience in a limited but powerful way. If you show it many examples of handwriting, it can learn to recognize letters. If you show it many images, it can learn visual patterns. If you show it many sentences, it can begin to learn relationships between words. This was an important shift. The question was no longer only, can we write enough rules to make a machine intelligent? The new question was, can a machine learn from examples? At first, machine learning was still limited. Computers needed more power. Researchers needed more data. Algorithms needed to improve. But the world was changing. Personal computers became more common. The internet grew. Digital information increased quickly. People created text, image, videos, and records in huge amounts. Machines now had something they did not have before. They had data, and data became fuel for modern AI. Think of it like this. A child learns by seeing the world again and again. A child hears words many times. A child sees faces, objects, animals, rooms, streets, and gestures. Slowly, the child learns patterns. The child does not need a written rule for every situation. The child learns from experience. Machine learning is not the same as human learning. A machine does not learn with feelings, childhood, or real understanding in the human sense, but it can learn statistical patterns from examples, and when the examples are large enough, the results can become surprising. One of the most famous breakthrough moments came in chess. For many years, chess was seen as a symbol of human intelligence. It required planning, memory, strategy, and deep thinking. People wondered if a machine could ever defeat the strongest human chess players. Then, in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. This was a shocking moment for many people. It did not mean that computers had become human. Deep Blue was not conscious. It did not feel nervous. It did not understand chess like a person understands a beautiful game. But it could calculate many possible moves with incredible speed. It could search deeply. It could evaluate positions, and in that narrow field, it could defeat one of the greatest players in history. The sound of that moment was not only the movement of chess pieces on a board, it was the sound of the world realizing that machines could challenge human champions in serious intellectual games. Still, chess was only one step. The next big changes came from better algorithms, stronger computers, and graphics processing units, often called GPUs. GPUs were first useful for computer graphics, but later they became extremely important for training neural networks. They could process many calculations at the same time. This made it possible to train larger AI systems much faster. Neural networks returned with new strength. Earlier neural networks had been limited. They were interesting, but not powerful enough for many real-world tasks. Later, with more data and better computing power, deep learning became possible. Deep learning uses large neural networks with many layers. These layers can learn patterns step by step. One layer may learn simple shapes. Another may learn more complex features. Another may connect those features to a final answer. This changed image recognition, speech recognition, translation, recommendation systems, and many other fields. AI began to appear quietly in everyday life. People searched the internet and received better results. Phones began to understand spoken commands. Email systems filtered spam. Streaming platforms recommended videos and music. Online maps found better routes. Banks used AI to detect unusual activity. Hospitals explored AI tools for medical images. For many people, AI did not arrive as a walking robot. It arrived inside normal tools. Then came another famous moment. In 2016, AlphaGo, created by DeepMind, defeated Lee Sedol, one of the greatest Go players in the world. Go is an ancient board game, and it is much more complex than chess in terms of possible positions. For a long time, many experts believed it would be very hard for AI to master Go at the highest level. AlphaGo changed that belief during the match. One move became especially famous. It was a move many human experts did not expect. At first, some people thought it was strange, but later, they realized it was powerful. This moment felt different from Deep Blue. It was not only calculation. It seemed as if the machine had found a pattern that humans had not fully understood before. Again, AlphaGo was not human. It did not feel pride. It did not understand tradition. It did not know the emotional weight of the match. But it showed that machine learning could discover strategies that surprised even experts. This was a turning point in public imagination. People began to see AI not only as a tool that follows instructions, but as a system that can learn, improve, and sometimes produce unexpected results. The breakthrough years also changed business. Technology companies invested heavily in AI. Universities expanded research. Startups appeared. Governments began to pay attention. AI moved from a quiet research field into a major force in the global economy. But with this rise came new questions. If machines can recognize faces, who controls the data? If machines can recommend content, can they shape what people believe? If machines can make decisions, how do we know they are fair? If machines can learn from human data, can they also learn human mistakes? These questions became more important as AI became more powerful. The breakthrough years were exciting, but they were not simple. AI was no longer only a dream, and it was no longer only a laboratory project. It was becoming part of daily life. It was helping people, surprising people, and worrying people at the same time. This is the fourth lesson from the history of artificial intelligence. A technology can sleep for many years, then suddenly rise. When the world around it changes, AI needed ideas. But ideas were not enough. It also needed data. It needed stronger computers. It needed better methods. It needed time. And when all these pieces came together, artificial intelligence entered a new age. The next step would bring AI even closer to ordinary people. It would no longer only beat champions in games. It would begin to write, speak, create, and answer questions. Modern AI was about to enter the room. Modern artificial intelligence entered everyday life in a new way. When generative AI became popular, before this moment, many people were already using AI without thinking about it. Search engines used AI. Online maps used AI. Video platforms used AI. Translation apps used AI. Phones used AI to recognize voices and improve photos. But for many ordinary people, stillheden, it was working behind the screen. But it did not feel like a person they could talk to. Then tools like ChatGPT changed that feeling. Suddenly, people could type a question and receive an answer in natural language. They could ask for an explanation, a story, a lesson, a summary, or an idea. I was no longer only a quiet system inside a machine. It became something people could speak with, almost like a conversation partner. This was a major change in public imagination. For the first time, millions of people could feel the power of modern AI directly. A student could ask for help understanding a difficult topic. A worker could ask for a draft email. A business owner could ask for ideas. A language learner could practice reading and listening. A creator could plan a video, write a script, or improve a title. The keyboard became like a doorway. You typed a sentence, pressed enter, and waited. Then words appeared on the screen, line by line, fast, clear, and sometimes surprising. This kind of AI is called generative AI because it can generate new content. It can create text, image, music, code, and other forms of media. It does not simply search for one answer and copy it. It produces new output based on patterns learned from large amounts of data. This is powerful, but it is also important to understand it correctly. Modern AI does not think like a human being. It does not have memories in the human sense. It does not feel emotion. It does not have life experience. It does not understand the world the way a person understands the world. It works by learning patterns and predicting useful responses, and because of that, it can make mistakes. Sometimes AI gives wrong information with confidence. Sometimes it misunderstands a question. Sometimes it repeats bias from the data it learned from. Sometimes it sounds correct, but the answer is not reliable. This is one of the most important lessons about modern AI. A powerful tool is not the same as a perfect tool. People must still think. People must still check. People must still ask, is this true? Is this fair? Is this safe? Is this useful? The future of AI will depend not only on better machines, but also on wiser humans. Today, AI is already changing education. A learner can ask for simple explanations. A teacher can prepare examples. A student can practice writing. A person learning English can listen to stories, repeat sentences, and improve vocabulary step by step. For language learners, this is especially powerful. In the past, many people had to wait for a teacher, a book, or a classroom. Now, practice can happen anywhere, but education also faces a question. If I can write for students, how do students learn to think for themselves? If a machine gives answers too quickly, will people become less patient? Will they stop struggling with difficult ideas? This matters because struggle is part of learning. A mind becomes stronger when it works through a problem, not only when it receives an answer. AI is also changing work. It can help with writing, research, design, coding, customer service, and data analysis. Some jobs will change. Some tasks will become faster. Some workers may feel worried. Others may find new opportunities. This has happened before in history. New technology often removes certain tasks, but also creates new kinds of work The question is not only, will AI replace people? A better question is, how will people work with AI? The people who learn to use it well may become more productive. They may save time. They may create better ideas. They may focus more on judgment, creativity, and human connection. But people who ignore it completely may find the world changing around them. AI is also changing creativity. It can help create images, music, stories, and videos. This is exciting for creators, but it also raises difficult questions. Who owns the work? What is original? What happens when machines imitate human styles? How can audiences trust what they see? Deepfakes and fake images can make people believe things that never happened. This means the future of AI needs responsibility. Technology alone is not enough. Society needs rules. Companies need safety. Schools need better AI education. Governments need thoughtful policies. And users need digital wisdom. We need to learn not only how to use AI, but how to question it. The story of artificial intelligence began with a dream. Can machines think? Today, the question has changed. Now we ask, how should humans live with intelligent machines? This question may shape the next century. AI may help doctors find disease earlier. It may help scientists discover new medicines. It may help people with disabilities communicate more easily. It may help students learn in their own style. It may help creators build things that once required a large team, but it may also create confusion, unfairness, job pressure, privacy problems, and false information. So the future is not only about what AI can do, it is about what we choose to do with AI. This is the final lesson from the history of artificial intelligence. A powerful technology is never just a machine. It becomes part of human life. It reflects our hopes, our fears, our mistakes, and our imagination. From early myths to room-sized computers, from Alan Turing to Dartmouth, from AI winters to machine learning, from Deep Blue to AlphaGo, and from hidden systems to modern generative AI. The journey has been long. Artificial intelligence did not appear in one day. It developed through dreams, failures, patience, breakthroughs, and questions that still continue. And maybe that is why the story of AI is so fascinating. It is not only the story of machines becoming more capable, it is also the story of humans trying to understand intelligence itself. Thank you for listening to this story. Now, write one simple sentence in the comments. You can write, I learned that AI developed through many years of dreams, failures, and breakthroughs. Keep listening, keep learning, and I will see you in the next story.